Hi there, this is Dominique Dejean Craig, and for today's video, we are going to talk about the Democrats and their immediate pivot away from Antifa and Black Lives Matter, and what that means and what's going on today. So, as we all know, Sleepy Joe and Kamala and the rest of the Democrats, they refused to admit that Antifa and Black Lives Matter were a terrorist group. They refused to admit the violence, the murder, the arson, the assaults, all of that. They tried to pretend that these were nothing more than peaceful protesters and that they were motivated. They were motivated by a desire for justice for Black people. Now, this would explain why all the people out there marching for Black Lives Matter appeared to be white people with like a couple, you might see a couple of sprinkled in Black people, but they was just on their way somewhere. I don't know, got caught up. And anyway, what happened, the polls went down for Sleepy Joe. It became obvious that while the Democrats didn't want to admit that this violence was taking place, that places like Portland, places like Seattle, places like Detroit, Atlanta, New York, places like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Kenosha, Los Angeles. So the people began to blame the Democrats because they clearly are supporting these terrorists, these domestic terrorists. It's common knowledge that the Democrats set up a fund. The Joe Biden Democrats set up a fund to bail out Antifa and Black Lives Matter, and that to this day, they refuse to even mention Antifa. They refuse to mention or condemn Black Lives Matter. And this is the reason. So, anyway, so Donald Trump says, hey, look here, I'm just going to withhold federal funds. Number one. And number two, if you don't clean up your act and do something about this violence, I will come through. I will deputize your police and I will bring up all the protesters on federal charges. They will all be facing 10 years. All of them. They've arrested over 300 of them so far. So the polls went down for Joe. The Democrats finally went in and cleaned up Portland last night. Yep. And you can expect there will be no more conversation about George Floyd and Jacob Blake. That conversation will be over. There'll be no more talk about this. Now the Democrats, they just have to make up story after story. He said this, he said that years ago. He said this and he said that, and it's all garbage. And they're just going to pivot and try to pivot to the coronavirus. And this is not going to work because Joe refuses to say China. He refuses to say anything bad about China. So, that and the fact that they wanted to keep the borders open and let the virus come over and, come on, man. And I tell you what, if you get a chance, visit a blue state that didn't shut down and then come back to a red state that's still in shutdown and tell me who you're voting for after that. That's pretty much all I have to say. But basically that's it. The Democrats are through using Black people. They know that 28 to 40% of Black people are not going to vote for them. They're so bad. Joe Biden is such a bad candidate. He created a whole new class of Black Republicans where there weren't Black Republicans before. A whole new class. You have hood conservatives. This guy is such a lousy candidate out there trying to fake like he's angry. He looks like a puppet. He always looks like he just had some bourbon and NyQuil. And Kamala, she's not taking any questions either. Really? What are they trying to hide? What is their plan? They bringing slavery back? Why are they not talking about their plan? Their whole plan, their whole campaign is, we don't like Donald Trump. Well, you know what? So what? And that's why black people are walking out on the Democrats, and you are going to witness, you are currently witnessing, and you will continue to witness the Democrats continue to turn their back on blacks. Their whole policy has been benign neglect, where they smile in your face and they talk behind your back. So expect more of that. Maybe less smiling in your face, though. So anyway, I'm voting for Trump, and I hope that you are too. And that's our video. Thank you for watching.